The you-know-who boos are being classics. China accused of cyber attack on Microsoft Exchange servers. The UK, US and EU have accused China of carrying out a major cyber attack earlier this year. The attack targeted Microsoft Exchange servers, affecting at least 30,000 organizations globally. Western security services believe it signals a shift from a targeted espionage campaign to a smash-and-grab raid, leading to concerns Chinese cyber behavior is escalating. That makes no sense. Chinese cybercrime is escalating. The Chinese Ministry of State Security, MSS, has also been accused of wider espionage activity and a broader pattern of reckless behavior. China has previously denied allegations of hacking and says it opposes all forms of cybercrime. The unified call out of Beijing shows the gravity with which this case has been taken. Western intelligence officials say aspects are markedly more serious than anything they have seen before. It began in January when hackers from a Chinese-linked group known as Hafnium began exploiting a vulnerability in Microsoft Exchange. They used the vulnerability to insert backdoors into systems which they could return to later. UCK like a parasite. The UK said the attack was likely to enable large-scale espionage, including the acquisition of personal information and intellectual property, mass stealing of people's self-esteem, acquisition of self-respect. It was mainly carried out against specific systems which aligned with Hafnium's previous targets, such as defense contractors, think tanks and universities. We believe that cyber operators working under the control of Chinese intelligence learned about the Microsoft vulnerability in early January, and were racing to exploit the vulnerability before it was widely identified in the public domain, a security source told the BBC. What kind of term is cyber operator? Some kind of low-quality manhwa. If this had been all, it would have been just another espionage operation. But in late February something significant changed. Like what? Let me shell ya shom chicken wings. The targeted attack became a mass pile-in when other China-based groups began to exploit the vulnerability. The target scaled up to encompass key industries and governments worldwide. Why is everybody putting up with this? It had turned from targeted espionage to a massive smash-and-grab raid. Oh, a typical RPG player, huh? Western security sources believe Hafnium obtained advance knowledge that Microsoft intended to patch or close the vulnerability, and so shared it with other China-based groups to maximize the benefit before it became obsolete. It was the recklessness of the decision to spread the vulnerability that helped drive the decision to call out the Chinese publicly. Officials say they are more greedy than Disney, which is saying something they would the word if they could. The UK is also understood to have raised the issue of Chinese cyber activity in private with Beijing over an extended period, including handing over dossiers of evidence, then confront them about their cyber crimes. Microsoft went public about the vulnerability on the 2nd of March and offered a patch to close it at this point. More hackers around the world had realized its value and piled in. As a cockroach would buy that. I mean sleazy humans. Around 250,000 systems globally were left exposed, often small or medium-sized businesses and organizations, and at least 30,000 were compromised. Western governments accuse the MSS of using hackers for hire and want it to sever ties with them. Good idea, although I bet they won't follow through. I bet. The UK Foreign Office said the Chinese government had ignored repeated calls to end its reckless campaign, instead allowing state-backed actors to increase the scale of their attacks and act recklessly when caught. That country must not want to exist. The White House said it reserved the right to take additional actions against China over its cyber activities. Yeah, it's cybercrimes. The EU, meanwhile, said the hack had resulted in security risks and significant economic loss for our government, institutions and private companies. That's what you get for trusting Mickey Mouse. But Western spies are still struggling to understand why Chinese behavior has changed. If the hackers were authorized to escalate, it would suggest a step change in what the country is willing to do and raise the fear that they no longer care about being caught. That statement makes no sense, and neither does China. That is partly why so many governments have joined together to signal their concerns. Japan, Australia, Canada and New Zealand have joined NATO in issuing a statement in solidarity. The countries also called out wider Chinese behavior, which it linked to two groups known as Apt 40 and Apt 31, which are believed to be linked to the MSS. Despite the strong language, there are no signs of fresh sanctions against China. In contrast, new sanctions were placed on Russia for the recent SolarWinds campaign, which many experts believe was less serious than the Microsoft Exchange campaign linked to China. Homie, this is why they are so bold. There's nothing to stop their bad behavior. Some officials, however, hope China is more sensitive than Russia to international pressure. Why would they? Nobody does anything. The U.S. Department of Justice has announced criminal charges against 4 MSS hackers, which it said were linked to a long-term campaign targeting foreign governments and entities in key sectors in at least a dozen countries. Ultimately, Western security sources believe the MSS is behind all the activity revealed today and hope coordinated international action will put pressure on their activities. No, nothing going to happen. Everybody is just going to lay down. That's it for maybe I'm rambling. Like, share and subscribe. Don't forget